We are not what we know. We are not what we know, but what we're willing to learn. I saw that quote today, and it just ties into what we're going to talk about today on the Legacy series. In this Legacy series, we've already covered kindness, and then integrity, and then being an advocate. And today we're going to focus on being wise, and that's not something we can all say that we've been there and done that, but that's something that we can strive for. Being wise versus some quick emotional reactions and decisions. And even though we all still need a lot of work, myself included, in our life, and we may have made decisions that hurt ourselves and or others, we can still strive to learn wiser and therefore more beneficial ways. In this legacy, our legacy isn't just for the future, it's also for now, for ourselves, our loved ones, spilling on to others by, as the quote said, we're not what we are, but what we're willing to learn. And so that's helpful to know that we can still keep learning and growing to be wiser, to benefit, as I said, our own lives. And sometimes I hear people say that when they think about being wise, that it might be boring and that you might be missing out on something in life. But you're really not. When you step back and choose the more rational, wiser way, sometimes it might not seem fun in the exact moment. It might not give that quick dopamine hit. But if you stay on the path, it's going to actually lead you to more fulfillment. I even heard this in one of the talks by Robert Greene. I don't know if it was from the book Mastery or some of his other teachings combined, but a lot of times when we do make those quick emotional decisions that seem right in the moment for that quick dopamine hit, it might seem fun for the moment, but if we can hold off on the quick emotional decisions, of course we do trust our intuition based on wisdom, but if we can plan ahead and go for the long range benefit and goal, we're actually going to have more fulfillment in our lives. And I'm Nurse Ann. I'm coming right now from the messy front lines as a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front lines. So we're going to continue on our Legacy series, Your Legacy, as I said, that you not just leave for the future, but also for right now as you go to benefit your own life and spill on to those you love and those of others. So today, as I said, in the Legacy series, we've done kindness, advocacy, and integrity. And today we're going to focus on just different practical ways to learn wisdom. And so we're going to go over some scripture, some of my devotionals. And at the end of this video podcast, there's always a bonus and a prize that I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So to start off with, we're going to get into some helpful tips from the Joyce Meyer Bible, the Everyday Life Bible, because we're going to talk about, especially from the book of Proverbs. And I've mentioned Proverbs before, and you probably already know that there's 31 chapters, but each chapter is filled with wisdom, practical wisdom for everyday life. That's going to help you with finances, relationships, your emotional decisions, planning for your future, what kind of people that would make better friends for you and what kind you might want to hold back from. Everything that you can think of is in the book of the Proverbs. So we're just going to touch on this today, as I said, from Joyce Meyer's Everyday Life. Then we'll jump into some devotionals that I self-published, and then the bonus and the prize, which at the end I read you a quick, short, action-packed chapter from my published fictional drama where you get to ride along with the frontline workers, the nurses, the caseworkers, the doctors, the paramedics, even the community, the church, and the families as they rescue those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. And that's full of action, adventure, along with advocacy and awareness. So having wisdom helps us with our emotional resilience, our mental strength and fortitude, that emotional and mental resilience and fortitude, which helps us to be bold, walking in wise ways. And when we can step out of our comfort zones, our boxes, and live a bolder life, knowing that we're making the right decision, can actually help us be bolder. It's going to help us be successful. Stepping out of your comfort zone every day will help you to be successful. Walking in wisdom, learning what wisdom is going to help you be successful in the short term and also in the long run. As I said, for yourself and others. So let's jump into some of these Proverbs. I haven't found a better way to learn wisdom from Proverbs, except from Proverbs, and you'll love it too. It helps your everyday life. You could read something from, since there's 31 chapters, each chapter every day, even if you only have time for 1 or 2 verses, it's going to give you so much insight to make wiser decisions and choices that you're going to be so glad you did. So from the book of Proverbs, I'm going to read the intro that she wrote in her everyday life. And it's Solomon, written by Solomon, who was called the wisest man who ever lived. And it's a book filled with wisdom and godly common sense. Wisdom and common sense go together. And we can build up our common sense by filling our brains, our minds, our hearts, our thoughts with wisdom, not just from the word, but also from our elders that are walking in wisdom. Even sometimes our elders that made mistakes, because we all make mistakes. We can also learn from that and just see how someone overcame that to build a better life. So, filled with wisdom and common sense about the practical matters of life, one of the most beneficial things we can seek in life is wisdom. This is true. And she said she likes to define it as decisions you make now that you're going to be happy with later. What do you think about that after you follow the Nurse Ann? And as I said, I'm Nurse Ann. I'm a nurse on the front lines of mental health and emergency. And my website is nurseann.com. You can see it in the description. And there I leave you inspirational wellness for your body, mind, and spirit to have wiser and healthier lives. So within the pages of Proverbs, you'll find sound guidance and advice on a multitude of situations you face on a regular basis, including how to think properly, control your mouth, manage your finances, plan for the future, treat people correctly, deal with people offending you. There is a wise way to deal with that. We can use learn wisdom and emotional intelligence to deal with offenses properly and not always getting sucked into drama. Receive correction. It's important to realize when we're making mistakes and receive that correction instead of always getting defensive. And when we get like that, we're not learning and growing in our wisdom. Keep from being foolish and to handle those who are. Be a good friend, and also how to have good relationships with our spouses, our significant others, and our children and our friends, having good relationships. And the book of Proverbs and wisdom also teaches us that our words are carriers of either life or death. Yes, our words have the power of life or death. And that a happy heart does good like medicine. And one of my devotionals I'll show you later actually contains medicine for your soul. Because, and as I said, because Proverbs has 31 chapters, many people read 1 chapter of Proverbs per day each month of the year. And whether you read a chapter per day or one entire book at once, you're encouraged to read Proverbs often and let its wisdom saturate your heart and direct your life. Yes, this wisdom can saturate your heart, your mind, your mental wisdom, and just recharge your life. Even if you feel like you haven't been walking in wisdom, we've all gotten on the wrong path, made mistakes, and sometimes we feel stuck in that trap. But it's never too late to get back on that road to learning wisdom and making those better choices, getting self-introspection, even getting therapy, wisdom, talking to others, so that we can learn about our past, our current situations, and why we get stuck and trapped and break out of that. It is possible to start on a new life. So let's start with in Proverbs 1 and 3, receive instruction in wise dealings in the discipline of wise thoughtfulness, righteous justice, and integrity. The last podcast, the 2 before that, was your legacy of integrity. And that was really fun to do, and I think you'll enjoy that one. So 4 is that prudence may be given to the simple, and knowledge, discretion, and discernment to the youth. The wise will hear and increase in learning, and the person of understanding will acquire skill and attain to sound counsel, so we can steer our course in the right direction. Are you ready to steer your life in the right direction, no matter where you've been? And that will spill on to others that you love. And that people may understand a proverb and a figure of speech, or an enigma, which is a mystery, and its interpretation, and the words of the wise, and their dark sayings or riddles. And she wrote in her life point from Proverbs 1, teaches us that wisdom is full of prudence. Prudence means good management. Prudent people do not operate in extremes. They're balanced and conduct themselves wisely. And she encourages us to be prudent in every situation. Yes, we want to manage our thoughts, our actions, our decisions, our behaviors, our speech. We want to manage that wisely and with prudence. And then we'll go on to I went to Proverbs 3. Seven says, do not be wise in your own eyes, but fear God and turn away from things that aren't right. And it's going to be health to your nerves and your bones and your whole body. Don't you want healthy nerves? And she wrote in the life point that what he meant when he said, don't be wise in your own eyes. Do not even think that you can run your life and do a good job without God's help and direction. That's true. If we just depend on our own thoughts and our own wisdoms, most of the times we run astray and make decisions that are hard to get out of sometimes. And another life point, she reminds us we don't all want to place our confidence in our education, our looks, our position, our property, our gifts, our talents, our abilities and accomplishments, or in other people's opinions. Through Proverbs, God reminds us that no more. It's time to let go of all those other things which you've been holding on to, and put your trust and confidence in God and what we learn in the Word. And the benefits of wisdom in Proverbs 4:5, she gives a teaching, instructs us to get skillful wisdom from God. And she wants to share some of the results you can expect as you apply this wisdom in your life. Wisdom will always lead you to God's best. It teaches you that you will not keep friends if you try to control and dominate everything that goes on in your life and theirs. Also, you're not going to keep friends if you talk about them behind their backs or tell their secrets. Wisdom says, don't say things about others that you wouldn't want people saying about you. And sometimes we forget about that in the moment. Wisdom will also guide you in money manners. You won't get into debt if you don't spend more money than you make. And a lot of people never have fruitful ministries because they think they can run it without good business principles. God doesn't speak to us in an audible voice, but to tell us what we can't have, that we cannot have more money going out than coming in. Wisdom tells us that we will get into trouble if we do that. So it teaches us about how to have friends, how to speak, how to save and spend money. And also, wisdom won't let us get overextended in our commitments. If we listen to wisdom, no matter how anxious we might be to accomplish things, wisdom says we need to take time and wait on God to give us peace about what we're going to do and not to do. Sometimes it can be difficult to say no to certain opportunities, but it's wise not to wear yourself out trying to do so much that you end up not doing a quality job. So learning how to say no and have boundaries is wisdom, and something that you can learn, as I said, doing introspection and learning about your own life, even trauma bonds that cause us to people please or not have boundaries. So there's a lot on my website, in my podcast, and also on the tabs that I have for you about boundaries and things like that. Quality is more important than quantity. Wisdom leads us sometimes to say no to things we'd like to say yes to, and it may also lead us to say yes to something which we like to say no to. So those are just things we have to look at, the pros and the cons, and helping others, and also getting the rest that we need, and having boundaries. Wisdom is our friend. It helps us not to live in regret. I don't want you to have a life of misery and regret. And she says one of the saddest things in the world would be get to older and to look back in life and feel nothing but regret about what we did or didn't do. Wisdom helps us make choices now that we're going to be happy with later. It's hard to think about sometimes that in the moment when you see that quick dopamine fix causing that release of that quick pleasure, sometimes habits and cycles that we're caught up in that are hard to get out of. But we want to step back and learn about wisdom and start practicing in that, so we can build up that muscle of mental and emotional resilience and strength, and that muscle of using wisdom and seeing the fruit and the benefits from that in our lives that also spills onto others. And another life point she brought from Proverbs 4:23 exhorts us to guard our hearts and our minds with all vigilance. Practically, that means we need to examine that self-introspection, examine our attitudes and our thoughts on a regular basis, and make adjustments as needed. What do you need to make adjustments on? Leave that in the comments after you follow this channel, and leave your comments. Share it with others too, because we all need encouragement and wisdom. Many people are deceived into believing they cannot help what they think. That's not true. And even I like the podcast with R.C. Blakes. He reminds us to discipline our minds and forcefully manage our thoughts. We can work on disciplining our minds and managing our thoughts. Yes, we can. We need to think about what we've been thinking about. That self-reflection that we can do every day, at least once a week or once a month. Get into that time, quiet time, and think about what you've been thinking about. You can choose your thoughts. When we do that, it doesn't take very long to discover the root cause of our bad attitude. Sometimes the enemy and media, culture, different things that we watch or listen to can fill our minds with wrong thinking, but we don't have to receive everything. We wouldn't take a spoonful of poison just because someone offered it to us, would you? Hope not. If we're smart enough not to swallow poison, we should also be smart enough not to let things poison our minds, attitudes, and ultimately our lives. Guard your heart, your thoughts aggressively. Let your thoughts be good thoughts. Think about things that are honorable and true. See Philippians 4:8, and watch your heart attitude change. So we have to work on filling our minds and our hearts with things that are true, right, and good. And then we will start to be able to see the truth and be able to actually make those changes. It's not always a quick and easy process. We have to fill ourselves up with wisdom. And a life point she read, we should not hate instruction, as we read about in Proverbs 5:12, but we should be teachable. Sometimes it's hard to be teachable. We get raise our defenses or get offended when someone's trying to teach us something. But even from the quote from the beginning, it's what we learn and what we're taught that we can actually learn and grow in life. If we ever get to the point where we think we know everything, then we can be assured we know nothing. We need to stop hating and despising things, even little things. People use the word hate and despise quite casually, making comments such as, I hate going to the grocery store, or I hate traffic, or I despise my job. And we're all tempted to hate certain things, just that we're prone to dread certain things. But she said, God has taught me that dread is a close relative of fear. We don't need to dread doing the dishes, going to work, getting up, exercises, or anything else. And sometimes those feelings can be used against us, those feelings of dread and hatred, to deceive us. And I also did a podcast called Stop Tricking Yourself. And there's a verse that reminds us, I think it's in Jeremiah, that our hearts and minds deceive us above all else. They're deceitful above all else. So we constantly have to do learning and self-introspection, or we are going to be tricked by our own brains. And that can happen even if you are walking in wisdom. So we have to keep working on that. We don't want to be deceived and tricked. We simply are not to have hearts that despise anyone or anything. If you have hatred in your heart, turn around from that and ask God to replace your despising attitude with love and grace. We're going to do a few more, and then we're going to jump on to the devotional and the bonus and the prize. And in Proverbs 7, it says, say to skillful and godly wisdom that you're my sister or brother, and regard understanding or insight as your intimate friend. And then it goes on to remind you it can keep you from bad relationships, even deceitful relationships of people that are trying to trick you into something that's going to have consequences that don't work out for your life. All right, we're going to wind it up here. Maybe we'll call this part 1 and get onto some more of this later. But her life point is we can miss God by being in a hurry to get what we want. If we don't wait, especially in important areas, will bring trouble into our lives as long as others. And she said she's fine-tuning patience in her life all the time. So instead of just getting impatient and confronting issues right in the moment, we can learn patience and ask God for wisdom and understanding and walk in the way of insight and understanding. And that was from The Everyday Life by Joyce Meyer. And now we're going to jump into my published fictional drama is the bonus and the prize, and that'll be soon. But I'm just going to read you from one of my devotionals today. But first, everyone get a drink of water. It's so healthy for you to drink water throughout the day. I want you to be healthy in body, mind, and spirit because they work together in synergy. Follow this and check out my website, nurseann.com. That's Ann with an E. So I'm going to read you from the Word Puzzles devotional. I'll quickly show you the others that I wrote. There's the new Ignite Life Poetry devotional. We talk about a lot of serious struggles that people go through, and there's poetry there, and also a devotional that helps give us encouragement in overcoming that for us and advocating for others. And the Mental Healing Poetry devotional by Nurse Ann, that's me. A lot of people gravitate to that because we all need mental and emotional healing, learning about our past, learning about trauma. Otherwise, if we don't learn about that, we can get stuck in patterns, relationship patterns, just patterns of thinking that we've struggled with most of our life, and we don't even know that's there or how to break out of it. So it's good to get that mental and emotional healing to have that strength and resilience. I have Energized Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. They work together in synergy. Inspiration Battles devotional. This is the paperback, and the hardcover. It has biblical medicine for real life, along with that soul searching with a dose of encouragement. As I said, we can really have wiser and healed lives when we do that self-reflection and introspection. So now I'm going to read you a quick from my Word Puzzles devotional. I put interesting, unique words in here and linked it to our everyday life and inner thought struggles. There's relevant biblical prescriptions to get your dose of wisdom and inspiration. And you know what else is in here? There's medicine for your soul in my Word Puzzles devotional. Do you want some soul medicine? There's a link on the website. I like soul medicine. What about you? So let's jump into the bonus and the prize so you can go. Hopefully it is shorter for you today to jump onto your other videos or whatever you have to do. So in my free time as a busy nurse on the front lines of emergency and mental health, coming from the front lines today, well, I didn't create this today, but in my free time, I created this 6-part drama series. It highlights the struggles that you go through, that people in mental health and emergency go through, those that you take care of, those that you love. It also involves the community, the church, the paramedics, doctors, caseworkers, nurses, everyone else on the front lines. And you see what they go through in their own life drama. It's an ongoing season. It's going to be a television drama series one day with your help. I need your help. So I do read you a chapter each podcast. You can scroll back on the website, the podcast and YouTube tab. You can also come on the book club. Therefore, to make it almost free and easier, it's in one book. It's the Mental Falls First 6 Stories edition by Nurse Ann. There's a link on the website, and You can get the book right along in this book club. If you do, please leave a review. And guess what? I also had it made into an audiobook because we don't all have time to read. And even if you do, this is very exciting. It was narrated by Drama Simpson. It's on Audible and iTunes. I'll show you the cover. But he brought it to life with siren noises, action, different characters. You're going to feel like you're in a movie or a television drama series. Feel like you're right there on the actions. I hope you check out the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition. You're actually going to really enjoy it. It's full of action, adventure, advocacy, awareness. There's danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration on the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition by Nurse Ann. That's me. So we're almost done with book 3. We finished book 1, which was the Mental Files Sheep Among Wolves, dealing with hallucinations, thought disorders, addictions, relapse, people struggling in their lives, the frontline workers. Book 2 is Dr. John Doe. We talk about dementia and Alzheimer's, along with someone getting rescued out of crime and danger. Book 3 is A Tent Under the Bridge. We'll jump into that in a second. Then we have Defenders of the Week. We talk about anxiety and bullying, how people help each other, more frontline worker relationships and drama. Then Ready, Willing, and Able. We talk about disabilities, autism, the spectrum, how people can actually break out of feeling limited and be heroes in their lives and others. And then the season finale is Out of Control. We talk about addiction, relapse, entitled patients. I'm sure you see entitled people wherever you work, wherever you go. And as I said, it'll be a television drama one day with your help. So let's jump into the bonus and the prize. Get one more drink of water, everyone. Let me know how you're doing with your healthy diet and your healthy beverages. Leave it in the comment. So we're going to do the bonus and the prize now, and then I'll let you go. We're on chapter 24, which is Team in Action. And guess what? This is book 3. And this is the second to the last chapter. And then we get to go on to the next exciting book, which I said we're going to talk about anxiety, people getting bullied. This is an interconnected series. You see the same frontline workers all throughout, as long as a lot of the same characters pop back up, and you see their relationship drama, the culmination of the relationship, and how they help people. And it's very exciting and gives you a good insight into the struggles that people go through. So chapter 24 is Team in Action. Julie had accepted her medicine after Nurse Kylina had a comforting talk with her. Remember, they took her back to the emergency room. Now she was resting quietly. If she woke up and wasn't psychotic, the team hoped she could return to the boarding home in a day or 2. Thank all of you so much, offered her mother, who was Abigail, who had not left her daughter's side. Even though Abigail was not a patient, Kylina brought the lady a hot meal from the cafeteria. While the homeless woman ate, Kylina and Lita talked about ways they might be able to help in this desperate situation. Officer Leon chimed in to the discussion. What about the project our church is getting involved with? They were helping build tiny homes for the homeless community. Oh yeah, exclaimed the caseworker. I wonder if we can put Abigail's name on the list. Say no more. I'm calling Jonathan right now, replied Leon. Surprising herself, Lita reached up and hugged Leon and declared her love for him in return. And that is the end of chapter 24, Team in Action. Next podcast is the last chapter of A Tent Under the Bridge, and it's called Propositions and Projects. You are going to love the culmination of this story, so I can't wait to see you there. Follow, like, share, leave your comments today. Join this book club, this channel, everything. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you at the next nurseann.com podcast to leave your legacy. See you there.